So Jon Jones.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you guys. I don't know much about this other than what we talked about the other day. What up? What's the update?
So.
Did he fight yet?
He fought. The fight already happened. He won, right?
It was moved to L.A., right?
The fight was yesterday.
It was moved to L.A.
Okay.
So I did at the last podcast that we did. We talked about this.
It's going great.
Have all the information, but so Novinsky, what's his name?
Exclamation point, cheer, mom.
Yeah, the Golden Snitch.
Thank you.
Something Novinsky.
Greg Nowitzki or something.
No, it's not. I don't think it's Greg.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's Novinsky. He used to be DA, I believe.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he kind of works for the UFC. He doesn't technically work for the UFC, but he kind of does.
Right.
It's like it's independent kind of.
Yeah.
So with USADA and all that stuff and them testing. So when John got in trouble originally for some
PEDs that he was taking.
Well, it wasn't even it was something that was in something else he took. So they believe it was probably the cocaine he was snorting.
Right.
And got cut with. Well, they don't know exactly, but one theory is that
Anthony, watch some ads.
He was snorting cocaine. It was cut with creatine, and creatine is often mixed in with other steroids and other stuff.
As a cutter.
Yeah. So when they manufacture this creatine, a lot of cheaper places, they use the same vats. They may put XYZ in,
right?
And which I believe it was Tren he got was it Trent?
Tyrion or something.
You
talking about what John Jordan was using?
Jon Jones, yeah.
Jon Jones.
But what's crazy is, so he got busted for this. Like
D-ball. No, it was D-ball, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was D-ball.
T.
Huh?
Turinabol.
Turinabol, yeah.
Yeah, Turinabol. So,
which is also, I think, known as D-ball.
Yeah, so
slang term.
He got in trouble last time for this
It was like 3 years ago?
Right. And
something like that, 2-3 years ago?
The argument was it was still in his system. So on Joe Rogan's podcast the other day, he had the Golden Snitch on there, and the Golden Snitch broke it down
Anthony, stick around. I'll give you a tutorial when they're done with this topic.
The Golden Snitch broke it down to if you took a grain of salt.
Yeah, and split 28 million times.
Well, if you took a grain of salt and you cut it in half, and then you take that half a grain of salt and split that 50,000 times or something.
No, it was in the millions.
Or was it?
It was in the millions.
Yeah. That's how, and you took one of those millions, one of those millions of pieces that you cut the half a grain of salt up in. If you took one, it's like
one. That's a picogram.
Yeah, it's a picogram, and that's what what was found in his system.
So he was found. It was
down
varying,
to that level.
It was varying between 20 to like 80 picograms.
Yes, it was ridiculous.
And it was bouncing up and down.
Right.
And so they've based off one other study and studies off of other similar substance, a semi-similar substance that contains chlorine, which is found in both compounds as far as the molecular structure.
Right.
They attach themselves in fat cells. So the theory is that during like weight cuts and when they're burning fat, they're released into the system. And that's why it shows it'll show in your system and then it'll disappear and then it'll come back and forth.
Right.
So over the course of 8 months, he was the most tested athlete in the world.
Yeah, in the entire world.
From USADA. Yeah. So they tested him more than anybody else for 8 months, and it would show up and disappear, and so they were trying to figure out what was going on.
And when they test you, it could be It could be at midnight.
Mom, you do not do an exclamation point. Sorry, guys. Real quick.
Oh, you're good. Hey, Mom.
In order to cheer, you just type cheer and then the number with no space.
Or you can click on that little diamond. Good?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, what was I saying?
You're talking about the USADA was testing him.
Oh, yeah. So he was the most tested athlete in the world.
Yeah.
For performance-enhancing drugs.
Yeah.
And it was going up and down, but these these measurements are so small, and like the experts of the experts, like the top level experts in the game, were saying that these have no performance enhancing. The levels that are found,
no effect. They're so minute in the system that they have absolutely no effect, as if they're not even there.
Yeah, and like some of those levels you could get from just being in the room as something like, say you were in the room with a vat of, or with like cocaine, for example, and somebody like sniffed it across the room and a little powder came up. Yep. You were 10, 20 feet away. Those molecules you could breathe in.
Right.
And that would show, that's how sensitive the tests are now.
Now you're
so
it's that small of that minute trace.
And that's
the testing has gotten that accurate.
That's how accurate the testing has gotten.
That's sensitive. Let's rephrase that.
Yeah.
It's sensitive.
Yeah.
It's not accurate because at that level,
broke it down to molecular.
At that level, it's a rough estimate.
Because I know, like, if you're driving, okay, let's try to equate this to your BAC, blood alcohol content. When you're driving, if you get pulled over and the cop wants to give you a breathalyzer, you could blow a .035 ish for taking a shot of NyQuil.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like what we're talking about. So like, imagine drinking alcohol last month.
Yeah,
and it being released and
still being
and like particles of it would still be in your fat cells. I mean, I don't know. I don't think alcohol goes there, but let's pretend it does, or weed or something like to the level of that. So it's that sensitive, but it's
a minute micro trace.
They need to come.
They actually found one they actually got it down to 1 picogram, where there was a test that came back,
which is
1
insane.
picogram. We're talking
that's insane.
That's like an atom.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. That's like genetic level. Like,
yeah, it's so small that, I mean, you can't even comprehend how small it is.
That's like saying, and when you're going down to that level, it's like, what at that point, where do you draw the line?
Right.
Like, did he eat too much protein?
Right.
Well, that was performance. He just had too much protein, or he drank too much water. He was too hydrated.
Yeah.
So they're talking about changing some of the what they're doing. Like, they're talking about like allowing a certain acceptable level.
Yeah,
because the test gets so
change of what they can accept and what they don't accept.
Yeah, just because you could get cross contamination from just being around somebody. Like, you could kiss somebody. They were talking about this.
Yeah,
you could kiss somebody
and just transfer.
That's nuts.
And then be tested as you were. Yeah,
and
that's million. And for not only the athletes but also like the UFC.
Yeah,
that is millions of dollars in lost. Like, if they had to cancel that fight, that's millions and millions of dollars lost.
They'll lose. So they would have lost so much money.
And that's why they moved it to California, because they couldn't guarantee.
Notice.
Yeah, because they were Nevada.
I think they're still so good though. They're still good.
I don't know, but I didn't catch that part. But Nevada was going to. They were going to have a hearing, but they were like, we can't guarantee if we're going to be like, okay, he can fight, because it would have been like a day or two before the fight.
Yeah.
So you may have ruined like everything.
It's too big of a chance.
Yeah, so that UFC's like
2 days ahead of time just to get you might get a yes.
Yeah.
Whereas we're like, fuck it, we're going to move it. It's a week in advance, but it's better than maybe on 2-day notice.
And the reason California was allowed to take because they dealt with Jon Jones like previously and had some basis of understanding of what was going on chemically with the system, and it's
so sensitive.
So companies like and leagues like the NFL are doing studies on this too, because they test shit.
Yeah.
But they don't know where to draw the line, because they've been having the similar situations with this kind of behavior.
You have to figure out at what point does whatever it is that they're not allowing affect your body enough to give you an increase to get that extra boost, that extra jump, right? So they have to find, and what's even, when you think about it even more, is the boost is going to be different for you than it is for me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They're definitely going to be different for you than it is for me. A boost for me.
Boost for me is awesome.
You know,
boost for me is awesome, bro.
So where do you draw the line? And I think that's, not only do you have to find it, but how do you even go about?
You're saying a boost for you is awesome?
Yeah.
until you're not having the boost anymore, and then you turn into a crybaby and start watching Hallmark movies.
Oh, bro, that's terrible.
I know. I've watched it. I've seen it. I'm just saying.
When you're done, when you're done with the cycle, like
it's not cool. Like if you don't taper down,
out,
you don't taper down correctly, bro. It's like parking wrong. You're crying. Like,
yeah,
I've parked crooked. I can't deal with this.
I'm old. I'm getting emotional on certain commercials.
It has not. You know what? It has nothing to do with age. It has to do with maturity. Because
it's true.
The more mature, it's not even about getting old. The more mature we get, the less we care about what other people think about us.
Right.
A little bit, yeah. But like, and talking about this, I mean, I've talked about it many times. Because we're getting to a ridiculous point, and like, not only this, but also like gene therapies. Like when are we going to be able to start injecting things, which we can already to a certain degree, go in there and start changing our genetics, which is way more powerful.
That's going to happen.
It all depends on what you identify as, man.
Well, that's going to be actually serious. That you
Mom said it. Mom said amen to that. I'm guessing it's about the maturity thing.
Yeah. But seriously,
if you inject the right type of DNA that locks in with the DNA that's already there and it corresponds, you can program that genetic code to grow a penis or to grow tits or to grow whatever.
Well, what's funny about this, like, so UFC for a while, for a couple years allowed TRT.
Yeah.
So there was like this weird loophole that people were basically allowed to take steroids as long as they had a doctor's note.
Yeah.
So
kind of like
so we're not that
weed if you had a card that says you can grow a fucking plant. Get out of here.
Right.
Stop it.
So
everybody's a botanist.
So with everybody going like, I want to be a girl.
Should have heard her cousin today.
I want to be a girl. I want to be a guy. I want to change my sex. That is not that far off from actually being programmable into your
absolutely.
Like, we are so close.
Absolutely.
So at what point is that going to switch over to athletics? It's going to be at the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there are going to be people like, well, I identify as this, so I want to be more of a male.
Yeah.
So I want super genetics.
Exactly.
So at what point?
The Chinese people thought they had it made with Yao Ming. Just wait until you see what's coming out scientifically over the next few years.
Yao Ming would have been one of the best if his broken feet would quit breaking and they would have just healed.
Well, he was super. I mean, super produced, man.
Are we gonna have like superhumans? They're like 6 foot, 6'6", 7 foot tall that like have 2% body fat.
We already have them. They live out in the mountains, and we call them Sasquatch.
But I mean, like
some Eddie Bravo shit. But I already think, look at the degree of athletic ability from a sixth grader 25 years ago to a sixth grader today.
Oh yeah,
the average size is different. Their strength. There's sixth graders now that can dunk a ball, bro.
It's for nothing.
Sure. And they're 6'9". Where in the history? It's. I don't want to say we're evolving. I don't want to say.
Well, we do evolve. But, we are. So, like, you take two super athletes, they breed.
Right.
They're more than likely going to produce a super fucking athlete.
Absolutely.
So you keep doing that down the genetic line, like you do with laboratory mice.
Right.
And all of a sudden, you're like, 6 generations now. Like, I got.
Like if Cheryl Swoops and Shaquille O'Neal had a kid. Oh my God. Although, shout out to Sharif. I hope I'm saying his name right, Sharif O'Neal. I hope you're feeling better. He had like open heart surgery. Shaquille, oldest son.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. And he's a basketball stud.
Yikes, I didn't know that.
But also Amanda Nunes, who beat the hell out of Cyborg, man. Shout out to
I just
Amanda
mentioned
Nunes.
that. That's crazy.
That's a bad bitch. Send her to ISIS right now. She'll fuck everybody up. She's like one of those.
Fuck Space Force.
She's like one of those things with the string in the back. You just pull that string.
This
fucking launch her out of a helicopter. As soon as she hits the ground, that string go all the way and boom.
That thing with the string that you launch things with, that's called a bow, bro.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the toys that you pull and the dolls. You pull their string and they say stuff, but they move their hands and shit.
Kind of like a Stewart doll.
Talk Box Betty.